Gonna talk about SMFL. Um, I did a couple different trades. I guess three short and two long. So I missed. This had an amazing pre-market bookmap long, including on this entire push. But I didn't see this. My Thinkorswim scanner was not showing SMFL specifically. Usually it's pretty good, but for some reason, um, my scanner wasn't showing it, so I didn't see it until the parabolic already happened. I did short a little fake 1 minute retail flag push, but it ended up soaking and I got stopped out. I took uh, kind of a manipulated long on the high 8 clear out. I longed into the bids in the threes, sold half of it at the new high a day, and then it knifed and then I just got out right away. Did a little my one of my favorite massive soak into seller patterns. I love this little pattern. The problem with shorting here is that I'm a solid 80 cents away from high a day. So on manipulated stocks, I open myself up to a lot of backside stuff happening. So I took some off on the 1 minute 200, which was actually I was up like 23%. So it was a great cover, and I covered around half or more, something like that. And then I just put my stop a little bit above my average just because I didn't want to deal with the backside stuff, which ended up being a good thing because we got a really nice manipulated long pattern. Here's the clear out. The thing about whenever you get clear outs in the morning that are super, we saw this on MINM, um, I think, where if you get a clear out that's like really, really, really far away from high day, a lot of times it baits shorts who are looking for a pattern to add on to go in. And it's had amazing bids. This entire push had great bids on it. And then I made a decision that once it got past the 620 lower highs here, see these lower highs, I full sold my long because I wanted to prepare for the short. If you guys remember, um, FRGT, FRGT did the same exact pattern here. Oh, sorry, you can't see because of book map. Here. So this is FRGT last Thursday. Um, Very similar big pre-market gap, controlled walk down. It's controlled selling. They squeeze the backside shorts and then pull it, right? So um, this took her SMFL. Literally, of course, did the same thing. Um, so I mean, look at these charts side by side and notice the similarities, right? A big one are these dumps. I told my Discord. By the way, information down below about my Discord. Um, but I told my Discord I was like, hey, I shorted the fake soak, but look how like aggressive this down only is. I'm expecting backside games, and I'm expecting it to take a little bit of time. Maybe like at market open, like yeah, 30 minutes, 30 to 60 minutes. I actually thought what they were gonna do before this high day squeeze. I actually thought they were holding these higher lows on VWAP. See these higher lows? I actually thought they would rip it and then dip it and rip it, right? You shake out all these longs and then you rip it. But what's very interesting is that right at market open, they threw up a bunch of bids. We'll see this. We'll see why bid support at market open is really important because it lets you know um, whether a stock is likely to, trap retail longs chasing a big gapping. A stock with a big gapping percentage is very common, right? So, like for example, in the book here, this is market open. Again, you've seen this in my videos I talked about recently that a lot of my longs, I let retail chase into the no bid support, and then I like to see it dip into bids down here. Then I try to long into the bids down here, right? But this one, I got the dip, but I saw like one, two, three, four, five, six levels of bids. I'm like, wow. I was like, look at all the bid support they have down here. And then it bounced and new bids started showing up. I was like, this is really strong. I was like, look at like this. I was like, wow. I did not think they would just throw a million bids under this thing. And I got stopped out in the 290s on this push. I just thought, um, I just saw it, in a strong market, it did have a chance of squeezing high day, and I got out into 290s because we just had follow-up bid, follow-up bid, follow-up bids. Like, yeah, there's a $3 ask here, but look at the bid follow-up. It's relentless, and then you get a book flip here. So, um, it was insanely strong. Really not what you usually see right out the gate at night. On a thing gapped up so high, it just held support and it pushed. Like it's actually not very normal. Um, and then the long I had was here's the 934 high day clear out, right? It broke a new high day and pulled. Here's your empty space, and here are these bids. And I started longing. I had to long. My average was like 303, and I sold most of it on this push again because there actually wasn't a lot of bid follow up here, right? Which is why it knifed. And then once it knifed, I just got out on um, the bounce because you could see the new ask coming in. It's like if you're longing at the top, you really have to take like a scalper's mentality. If you do a long at the top of a stock because there's bids and empty space, then bids need to follow that up. If we go to the pre-market, this had an amazing if you got this, if you saw the book map early on this was amazing. Like the first one would have been hard to long. You would have had to see these bids way down here, but you could already see the imbalance of bids to ask, right? This actually is an amazing long, but the much cleaner one is the one that happens right after. So this is in the 180s, and you could see the bidders coming in at 150, and we have stacks and stacks and stacks of bids, and we really just have one ask. But this is a good example right here where you can go long at the top in the pre-market on low float stocks if it looks like this. So if you remember my video about like MINM and NX TP, was that one of them? That one week where we had a bunch of like 300% VVOS. That one week we had a bunch of like crazy pre-market runners. Um, you remember that I actually long Nexi NEXI. I longed a Nexi at $8, which was the top of the parabolic at that time, and the book looked just like this. And the reason I longed it is because you could see that once this $2 guy gets taken out, look how many stacks of bids there are. And look how there's nothing. There's a few people, but there's nothing up here. Like, the book is just, every 10% is empty. The book is, which is why you can actually long right into this. You can long in like the 215s, and as long as the bid support, it's pushing, wait for the pullback and wait to see what the bids look like. And then here's bids, and then here's bids, and then here's bids, and then like it's just, and then by the time they pull the bids, you could just be like, all right, I'm just gonna sell here because um, if you're up like 20, 30, 40% on the long, unless you have like a much bigger picture thesis, once you start pulling bids like this, and it starts dipping, you can just get out. And if you start to see ask forming, so there's ask forming, there's bids getting pulled, that's a good run. You could sell, and look, that's 214 to almost $3. Right? And you could always sell in the straight too. You don't have to, it's different ways of taking profits. But this was amazing. Like, I'm actually kind of mad my pre-market scanner didn't pick this up because I could have caught 90 cents on the move with no effort. Look, like, even if you didn't have the read down here, this read was in the 150s. This read in the 210s is clean, super clean. And then yeah, so what else do we have? Let's go to that fake soak. So the fake soak. So by the way, sorry for using bookmap all the time. That was here. So you would have longed 215s here on this candle because of the bids. and you could have rolled it all the way up to like this guy and this guy, right? Um, and then let's focus on the massive soak. So I don't. You might ask why I wait for this one instead of this one, and that's because I consider this just like a sell-off, right? This is just like a normal sell-off, but this one's much more interesting because now we have like, oh, you could retail could see the support levels. Like, oh, we see VWAP holding, we see the 5-minute 9 holding, we see a big soak and a big, potential squeeze. This is just like volatility, right? This is just a quick dump. It's super volatile. There's people buying, there's people selling. It's really when you get the structure and then you get the soak, and it's better. So that one is right here on the book. Here's your dip, 946, 947. Here's the big push. You can see them already start to pull bids, so this is pretty empty. And then I just saw this 285 guy. It was really hard to get filled because of SSR. I had to get randomly filled way down here in the 270s. But I was treating this as a scalp. I was essentially risking the 285 guy holding, and maybe up to 290. But I was trying to, because my average is so far away from high day, I was trying to get a move to the 1 minute 200. So, and then we can go to the clear out short trap, which is this big push, huge volume red candle, right? Looks super bearish, but gotta remember this had a big down only dump. That's bullish, right? We're in a strong market. That's bullish. This has a tiny float. There's a lot of bullish fact. Now that doesn't mean it's going to squeeze high day, but there's a lot of bullish factors adding up, and just the fact that maybe if this squeezed to like 310 and did this, maybe it could be a little better. But I consider clear outs. This is still like the bottom. There's still a bunch of empty space up here, right? So it has potential to rotate through it. But on the book, we could see here's the clear out. And remember, when a clear out happens like this, it takes away all these orders on the book. There are a bunch of orders on the book here that are no longer there because of this move. So when it dips, the order book's empty, right? Because this cleared out these orders, and now it's an empty order book. They threw up a gigantic bid at 355. I actually saw on the level 2, they let it get almost completely eaten through. It was like 90% eaten through. And it looked like it was about to dip 254, and then they just ripped it and actually went long. A lot of this long here is me. I was market ordering long into 256 here, because I like the empty space. I like the clear out short trap, and then look what they did. They started throwing up bids. And then it just got slowly market ordered, and like big bid here, and then it just got pushed. I did sell a little bit off in the 270s, but then I sold some on the 3 break, and then I sold most of it just on the last push towards high day, because I'm like, all right, just want to get ready for high day. And I always love pullbacks and second pushes, right? I don't want to just blindly short into the top of this candle, just because I find that most high volume stocks will pull back and find some support level and usually give some type of like long trappy push, even if it's a little one like this. Even if it's like, here's your $3 bounce and push. Yeah, I still like this push more than the first push, right? I think it's always easier to wait, but sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes it doesn't happen as quickly. Sometimes it pulls back for like 5-10 minutes or 15 minutes, and the second push comes 15 minutes later, and I'll wait for that, because I just don't like the guess that this candle is going to be top, right? In most situations, I would say, but the second push at least, I could see what the bids look like. So I see these bidders here, and I could see what the bid follow up looks like, and then I can see what the ask looks like, right? So now I have like, I have a much cleaner, instead of just trying to guess, which one of these asks is going to be the top, um, I can just wait to see what resistance levels are holding, what asks are being formed, and then I can read the bids. It's much cleaner. And then yeah, I just shorted this push. Um, because of SSR, I kept getting like my order moved down, and I eventually had to like reorder multiple times to really get in. And then yeah, I did see this second bull push, but I was like, man, look, has this ask, this ask, this ask. Isn't it funny that they put up these like two 25K asks? Both of those 25K asks pretty much got filled, and then they pulled it. Is that funny? They threw up gigantic stacks of asks, they get filled, and once they do, they're like, all right, we'll just pull it. What's interesting is there was a big. I was a little afraid of this bidder who came in. Um, but I was so bearish the structure because it looks just like FRGT. I'm so bearish this move not pushing that even though there's a big bid here, I was like, oh, that's annoying because if I'm going to get squeezed, what's going to happen is that bid's going to hold and then it's going to squeeze me. I mean, so I don't like to see that. But I'm overall bearish the whole structure up here. And I still see that I have multiple ask levels this has to go through. I'm risking all the way up here, right? So I'm like, yeah, I'll just bet that you know, these ask hold and this guy either pulls his bid or gets sold through, and I actually just ended up getting sold through. Um, and yeah, it went straight down, and then I did take some off at these cracks um, just because it's just strong market, and I just been taking profits at 20%, 15, 20% on a lot of these moves. I covered 40%, and then I don't have my updated chart, but I held for the 5-minute 200, so it faded to the 1.7. I covered at the 5-minute 200, so ended up being a really fat trade, and about I caught like 60 cents on this long, and on this long I caught like I don't know 15, 20 cents or something like that. Um, and then and then the short I made a decent amount because I covered a lot at the 1-minute 200. So actually this was one of those plays where I just had really good reads a lot of ways, and I was able to make money on both sides. So I think per share, I probably made over like $3 per share on this or something like that. So I actually don't really know. But yeah, uh, FRGT just looks. These are the same charts, right? You know, uh, ridiculous fade. Knowing me, it probably next 45 minutes it probably fades like 1.2, and I feel like an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, I covered right here. And then I see it at 4 p.m. and it's like down here. Like, whoops. Um, but But yeah, I guess some major lessons. These deep pullbacks can be abused on the backside. Clearouts and fake breakouts that are really far away from high day, especially on these low floaters that traded multiple millions of shares per minute. These have high odds of doing manipulated stuff like this. And yeah, in the market open bid support, without those bids, this one is a push. But hey, there are bids and bids and bids, and it's just went straight up. So my little short here on the top of this candle just didn't work in that case. I didn't know what the bid structure was going to be like at market open, and it turns out it was super bullish. So yeah, I just got out. So yeah, SMFL, interesting little trade. And yeah, more information down below about the Discord if you're interested, and you guys have a good one.